From the glittering glass towers of Manhattan to the sun-baked rooftops of Phoenix, America's skyline told a story of booming rent and rising fortunes. For years, rents climbed relentlessly, promising endless demand and growing profits for landlords across the nation. But in 2025, everything changed. The unstoppable growth suddenly hit a wall. Rents, once feared to rise without limit, started to tumble, leaving vacant units in their wake. Landlords who once seemed untouchable began to feel the strain and uncertainty ripple through their empire. For 3 years, rent inflation shaped the American dream, reshaping cities, breaking families, and building great fortunes. But markets that rise too fast inevitably find their gravity, and the crash is now underway, silent but unstoppable. Today, we'll journey across 10 major U.S. cities to uncover how an empire built on confidence and debt came crashing down. This is the story of the Great Rent Correction of 2025, a turning point in America's housing saga. Join us as we explore what this collapse means for renters, landlords, and the future of American
Just a few
cities.
years ago, Austin was the hottest spot in tech, earning nicknames like the new Silicon Valley, with cranes filling the skyline and developers rushing in.
Billboards everywhere hyped the city's promise, and it felt like every investor and developer wanted a piece of Austin's booming future. But then, reality set in, and things started to change faster than anyone expected. By 2025, average rents dropped by 14%, the biggest decrease in the entire South, leaving thousands of expensive apartments half empty. Glassy apartment pools glisten under the sun but remain eerily quiet without swimmers or neighbors around. The tech bubble burst. Major companies cut staff, slowed growth, or moved employees elsewhere, turning this bright city quiet almost overnight. Landlords who once bet big during the boom faced tough times, now offering free rent, no deposits, even concert tickets just to get tenants through the door. Austin's story in 2025 perfectly captures a city that soared on hype but stumbled when the numbers caught up.
Miami used to
be unstoppable. Luxury towers rising high and nonstop demand from billionaires and traders chasing the sun. From crypto traders to hedge fund founders, everyone wanted a piece of this glamorous paradise. But lately, the glow has faded, and the reality is starting to show cracks beneath the surface. In 2025, rents in Miami have dropped by 11%, and now downtown and Brickell are struggling with empty apartments. Condos that once rented out the same day are now advertising perks like free parking and gift cards to attract tenants. It's not just weak demand. The rising costs are hitting investors hard. Insurance premiums have tripled because of new hurricane risk models, making it costly to protect these properties. Maintenance fees have skyrocketed too, thanks to strict new building laws introduced after past collapses. For property owners, every month is now a losing game, with costs piling up faster than income. Foreign investors are pulling out, feeling the heat from these economic pressures. Airbnb profits are drying up, and even the tourism industry, once Miami's safety net, is growing fragile. Beneath the turquoise waters and sunny beaches, Miami's real estate market is quietly cracking from within. Miami's fall reminds us that even paradise can price itself out of survival. Atlanta was once seen as the Sunbelt's golden child. Affordable, fast-growing, and seemingly unstoppable. Between 2021 and 2024, developers raced to meet demand, adding over 50,000 new housing units across the city. For a while, it looked like supply and demand were perfectly balanced, until inflation started to bite. Now in 2025, average rent prices have dropped by 9%, and vacancies are noticeably growing in Midtown and Buckhead. Landlords are offering incentives again, like 3 months free rent, waived fees, and even furnished apartments. But overbuilding isn't the only issue. People just don't have the money to keep up anymore. Wages have stalled, student loan payments are back, and inflation has eroded savings, making it harder to keep a roof over your head. Millennials are doubling up, sharing spaces to make ends meet, and many in Gen Z are moving back with their parents. Even the suburbs like Cobb, Gwinnett, and Henry County are feeling the squeeze, with single-family rentals sitting empty. Investors are cutting prices, desperate to stop the losses in this changing market. The lesson here? Growth without affordability isn't growth at all. It's just speculation hiding behind numbers. Las Vegas has long been known as the city of big wins, but when it comes to housing, landlords are facing some tough losses. Back in 2021, a wave of Californians moved here, attracted by lower taxes and more open space. Developers rushed to build more homes, hoping to keep up with a demand that seemed to be never-ending. But by 2025, things had changed. Rents dropped by 10% and twice as many homes sat empty. Places like Henderson, Summerlin, and even downtown Vegas looked half empty, a surprising sight for the city famous for its energy. Tourism hasn't bounced back fully either. Conventions are smaller and fewer casino jobs are available. Meanwhile, thousands of Airbnbs, once thriving as short-term rentals, have flooded the long-term market, pushing prices down.
Homes that used to rent for around $2,400 now sit empty, with landlords dropping prices as low as $1,800. Vegas is going through a familiar cycle. A bubble pumped up by newcomers, then deflated when the reality sets in. The lights on the strip still dazzle, but behind the scenes, the numbers tell a different Phoenix grew rapidly as families from California and the Midwest flocked here looking for opportunity. Builders worked around the clock, with cranes dominating the desert skyline by 2024. But by 2025, the housing market had taken a noticeable turn. An overwhelming 30,000 new housing units flooded the market, but few renters came forward. Average rents dropped by 12%, signaling a shift that caught many by surprise. To attract tenants, developers started offering perks like free utilities and prepaid internet. The challenge runs deeper. Job growth has slowed, migration has cooled, and living costs keep rising. Investors who bought properties at the market peak now find themselves underwater financially. Phoenix, once a symbol of endless growth, is now facing the reality of its limits. To be the crown jewel of corporate relocation, attracting big names and big ambitions. Companies like Goldman Sachs, Toyota, and JP Morgan helped build unstoppable momentum here. But by 2025, things took an unexpected turn. The city that never slowed down finally did. Rents in vibrant neighborhoods like Uptown, Plano, and Frisco dropped by 10%, shaking up the market. Vacancy rates climbed to their highest in a decade, signaling a real shift in demand. Developers, eager to capitalize on growth, built too much, too fast, and the supply overwhelmed the market. Meanwhile, interest rates remained high, and soaring insurance and property taxes added pressure on landlords and renters alike. With wallets tightening, even the booming jobs market couldn't patch the holes in cash flow. Investors found themselves bleeding as rental income diminished and vacancies grew more common. Landlords, once confident, began advertising free parking and rent credits, a stark reversal from the market's arrogance just years before. Dallas hasn't fallen apart, but its confidence has taken a hit. The engine of Texas growth is running on Boise's rise during the pandemic felt almost mythical, like a modern-day gold rush for remote workers escaping big cities. As San Francisco and Seattle workers flooded in, home prices and rents doubled almost overnight, reshaping the city's landscape. But by 2025, the fantasy had faded. Rents dropped by 13% and vacancies rose faster here than anywhere else in the Mountain West. Developers who once targeted high-income newcomers now scrambled to fill half-priced apartments with locals, struggling to keep up with demand shifts. Meanwhile, the remote workers who powered Boise's boom have moved on, leaving behind silent offices and shuttered coffee shops. Boise's story is poetic, a pandemic dream built on the promise of escape, now a cautionary tale of a boom turned Seattle bust. Has long been known as a hub of innovation, home to giants like Amazon and Microsoft and countless startups fueling its growth. But recently, things started to shift when the wave of tech layoffs hit the region hard. By 2025, rents downtown have dropped by 10% and vacancy rates have doubled, signaling a new chapter for this tech powerhouse. Neighborhoods like Capitol Hill, South Lake Union, and Belltown, once buzzing with energy, have grown noticeably quieter. Developers who once counted on continuous expansion now face silence and uncertainty. Some projects have been paused right in the middle, leaving steel frames and scaffolding abandoned. Even in Bellevue and Redmond, luxury apartments are cutting prices just to stay competitive in this new market. Seattle, the city that once symbolized nonstop innovation, is now getting a first-hand look at what stagnation feels like. The skyline still gleams with promise, but half the windows tell a different story. Waiting, empty, San Francisco, once the heart of American innovation, now tells a very different story. The pandemic changed everything, emptying the bustling streets and leaving office towers eerily quiet. Tech giants packed up, startups shuttered, and the pulse of the city began to fade. Fast forward to 2025, rents have dropped by 15% and vacancy rates are at record highs. Luxury apartments that used to go for $4,000 a month now sit empty at $3,000, with generous deals like free months to lure tenants. Investors find themselves stuck with properties they can't refinance, while costs for taxes and upkeep keep rising. Profits have evaporated, and entire neighborhoods are turning into ghost towns. Mom-and-pop restaurants have closed, shops have shuttered, and the city feels quieter than ever. San Francisco, the city that once defined the housing boom, is now living inside its bubble. A cautionary tale of change. New York City's rental market was legendary, known as the one that never crashed. But in 2025, that story changed. Manhattan rents dropped by 12%, while Brooklyn and Queens saw declines of around 15%. During the pandemic rebound, developers overbuilt, betting on endless demand that just didn't materialize. Layoffs in finance and media drained the pool of renters who once fueled this market's growth. Even the luxury towers along Billionaires Row are now offering deals, a sight that was unimaginable just a few years ago. Smaller landlords are now squeezed by rising loan payments and shrinking profit margins, with whispers of foreclosure spreading quietly. For the first time, tenants in New York are negotiating from a position of strength, deciding when and where they want to live. Many renters are walking away from old leases, while landlords are increasingly desperate to keep their tenants. No matter how tough the market gets, the city's energy and glow still shine through. But beneath the lights, a quiet exhaustion lingers. The empire of rent has finally found its ceiling. A new chapter for New York's rental landscape. Across America, we've seen a clear pattern unfold over the years. Developers built luxury properties, while renters searched for affordable places to call home. Investors chased high returns, and tenants simply wanted stability. For years, rent prices only moved in one direction, up. But 2025 is different. It marks the turning point. Incentives to rent are back, vacancies are rising, and prices are starting to fall. For the first time in a generation, renters are coming out ahead. But this isn't just about prices correcting. It's a cultural shift too. A generation once told to rent forever is now questioning the entire housing system. Families are moving away from expensive cities to find more affordable living elsewhere. Developers have paused new projects, and investors are realizing housing growth isn't limitless. It's a delicate balance. Some cities will bounce back, others will reinvent themselves, and a few might never fully recover. But one truth remains constant. Housing markets can't defy gravity forever.